Welcome to this edition of Safety First. I'm your host, Tim Kelly, and on the first segment of today's program, we're going to talk about holiday safety. In fact, we'll be talking about that the entire show. We're going to spend the first half with the Suffolk Police Department, and Officer Sessoms joins us to talk about general holiday safety tips to really think about when you're out and about, as well as when you're back home. And Officer Sessoms, thanks for being with us today.
No problem.
Well, when you're out shopping, and of course everybody's the hustle and bustle, you're excited to get that great gift for that special person, what are some good basic tips for folks to remember while they're out and about to stay safe and maybe a little bit savvy about their environment?
The biggest thing that we tell people is you need to keep your situational awareness. You need to know what's going on around you. Everybody during the holiday tends to drop their guard a little bit because everybody's happy, right. But you need to know what all is going on around you. You know, if you've got somebody coming up too close on you, if it's somebody you don't know, if it's something that just doesn't feel weird, that's the most important thing, is just being aware of your surroundings at that point in time.
Now, if you're in a situation, say you're shopping either in the store or you're headed to your car in the parking lot, and as you noted, something doesn't feel right, what's a good thing to do? What maybe the first thing you should do to respond?
Depending on where you're at with it, the very first thing that I tell people is have your cell phone out when you're walking out, because if you need to hit 911, that's immediate response. We can get there at a quicker time frame, and it doesn't involve you leaving your location from where you are.
Got it. Now, if you get to your vehicle, I mean, you know, and you feel something's not right, I mean, you know, you hear stories about people under cars or between cars. I mean, parking lots are full, and depending upon how close you are, there may not be someone around. Any general tips to be aware around your vehicle when you start approaching that in a parking lot?
Just as you approach your vehicle, look around it. If you see something, if you see a car that has doors open, it's running already, and there's nobody that you can't see anybody inside of it or anything like that, just be aware of what you're coming up to. You know, as you're walking up to a car, a lot of times with the way the lighting is, you can see underneath it. Just be aware of what is around there. And if you see something that doesn't look right, again, come give us a call. Now,
I know I was in a recent store just recently, and I'd got some cash back on an ATM transaction. The lady, of course, made a point of saying, make sure you put that money away before you head out to the parking lot. Not that I'm waving money around or anything like that, but just some general tips when you're at the register. Obviously, whether you're using cash or a credit card or a gift card or whatever you're using to purchase, things to be thinking about while you're at the register.
The biggest suggestion we have is don't carry cash.
Yeah.
In today's modern economy, everybody has credit cards, access to that. Use a card whenever applicable. Right. You can get the Visa cards at Walmart that you can put money on. Money is a huge draw to people, so if you can eliminate that look, you can eliminate a lot of things. And just by using cards, it allows you to carry less things in your hands, and you become less of a target because people don't see it.
Exactly. Now, one thing we talked about off camera before we started was the fact that the Suffolk Police Department has extra officers, or off-duty officers, that are out and about kind of patrolling shopping areas throughout the city. Talk a little bit about that program and how it works.
Yes, sir. What we have is we have Holiday on the Beat. It's off-duty officers come on and they work for the holiday area surrounding businesses. Any district that has a lot of movement that typically doesn't have, their officers are out there, they're in the street, they're patrolling up and down the roads, they're looking in the parking lots, they're driving around the parking lots, and just making sure that all the citizens are safe while they're out there.
And again, they're in uniform in their vehicles, so
yes,
again,
sir.
Easy to recognize and
absolutely
a good deal.
Yes, sir.
Now, we talked about while you're out shopping, but what about when you're on the way home or when you get to your home? Some things, again, to be aware about just when you're kind of pulling up the driveway, or if you're driving and you think maybe someone's behind you type thing.
If you think somebody's behind you or you think something just doesn't feel right, the best thing to do is to contact us.
Right.
We get calls all the time, and people say, well, I'm sorry I called you and it turned out to be nothing. I would much rather come out to a call and it's nothing than come out to a call and it actually be something. That's what we're here for. We're here to make sure you get home and you get home safe. So if you think something's wrong, give us a call. We'd much rather come out to that type of a call.
And again, I'm assuming some of the same principles that we talked about when you're in the parking lot or heading out to the parking lot is the same thing when you pull up to your home. Being aware of your surroundings, make sure no one follows you in your driveway.
Yes.
Of course, the way the city of Suffolk is arranged, we have some long driveways out in the countryside areas that are maybe a little bit longer than usual. So again, just paying attention to what's going on around you, right?
Yes, sir. You know, if you have a floodlight that's typically on, when you come in, it's on a sensor and it's not on, yeah, that's an indicator for you.
Right.
If you see that your door was shut and your door's open, even a screen door that was shut and it's open, that needs to be an indicator. Just anything that looks out of the norm needs to contact us so we can come check it out for you.
Okay. Now, of course, holidays, not only you're out and about shopping, but people are also on the road away from home, going to visit family and friends and things like that. Some good safety tips for your home. What can you do to secure it or make sure that you prevent more of a deterrent for that potential crime victim, or crime incident, I should say?
Timers for lights are a wonderful thing. And everybody that puts them on, they count on them. The timer's going to be there. It's going to turn on. It's going to make somebody think there's something. You also need to take into consideration alternating the times that you have it come on, because a lot of people set it to come on at dawn, then to dusk, vice versa. Somebody that's looking to break into a house, they check those things. So if you alternate it even by half an hour on a regular basis, it gives the illusion more that there's somebody home, and it's not a consistent that they can guarantee on.
Got it. Now, anything as far as securing the property, obviously we want to make sure our doors are locked and everything's kind of sealed up tight. You mentioned about the lights, anything to do with maybe your mail if you're going to be gone for maybe a couple days at a time or a week or so. What are the good parameters for that?
If you can have somebody come pick up your mail, that's always beneficial. The other thing at Suffolk officers, we offer house checks. You can come down to headquarters down here and fill out a form, and we'll send an officer by on a daily basis to check your house just to make sure everything's okay for you. And if something is different, it gives us a head start on your case at that point.
Any kind of lead time you're going to need for that? You know, if I'm leaving, say, this weekend coming up, and we're sitting here talking on a Monday, how soon in advance do y'all need to know we need to get signed up for that program?
It does take a little bit to get the paperwork through. So, you know, if you can come through at least 2 weeks ahead of time, it'll set up for a start and a stop point. And they'll ask some different questions: what cars are going to be there, what lights are going to be on, are there animals on the house, things like that. Just so we know what your house is supposed to look like.
Gotcha. Now, of course, we talked about the shopping element of things, but also people are out and about celebrating the holidays. You know, you're going to holiday parties or just taking in the festivities. You know, again, you know, no drinking while driving. Want to reinforce that again, and obviously y'all are going to be out, you know, certainly monitoring that as well. Again, just some general information we pass on to people to be aware of that, because again, in the holiday season, we might be having more parties or doing things we don't normally do just because of the festiveness, I should say, of the season.
During the holiday season, the biggest thing that I hear from somebody that ends up being arrested from a DUI is, I didn't feel drunk. Most people are drinking more alcohol than they typically drink. They're doing it on a more frequent basis, and their body is climatizing to it. So as they become and they start drinking, they don't feel like they're drunk before they get behind the wheel. As their body starts metabolizing it, it elevates it. So if you're having something to drink, need to stop. Okay, you need to just get somebody else to take you home.
Correct. And again, just some general things, like that situation comes up, what are the options available? You know, you say you're somewhere and call a cab, those kind of resources. Obviously, we don't want to be calling 911 to have Suffolk Police take you home, so to speak. But just some other things that people can think about and options that might be out there for folks. Pre-planning
is the best in advance. Personally, if me and my wife are going out somewhere, one of us will drink, the other won't. And you know, pre-planning is the best advantage you can have. There are taxi cabs you can call, and a lot of taxi cabs will offer rides home for intoxicated people. If you get into that situation, though, please call us, because I'd much rather deal with it on the front side than be standing on the side of the road and having the conversation about I didn't feel like I was drunk.
I understand. And of course, what we're talking about, of course, is just general, really self-awareness, awareness of surroundings, awareness of yourself, the people with you and around you as well. But before we leave the segment, just again, let's just capsulize everything we've talked about. Any general tips that you would offer anyone, maybe something we've covered you want to reinforce, or something we haven't talked about that you kind of thought about coming into the interview, want to get across to folks?
If you're shopping, go out in pairs. It's always safer in numbers. When you are shopping, use cards, not money. When you park, remember where you park. Be aware of what it looked like when you parked there. There's also a lot more things. We have brochure that you can go to suffolkva.us, and this brochure's holiday crime prevention is on there. You can read through it. There's a list of items in here that go into much more detail than that.
Got it. Okay. Well, Officer Sessoms, thanks for taking the time to be with us today. Looking forward to a happy and festive holiday season, and certainly want to wish everybody the best of seasons out there. And of course, certainly take care, be aware, and know what's going on around you. And as we head to break, we'll take a short break, I should say, and we're going to be back with more safety tips. And Regina Price will be joining Captain James Dickens, our fire marshal with the City of Suffolk, to talk about safety with that Christmas tree and just general holiday tips that the fire department has to offer. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Safety First. I'm Regina Price, and I'm now joined with Captain Dickens, who is the fire marshal for the City of Suffolk Fire and Rescue. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Good to see you again.
Good to see you as well. Well, as Tim Kelly mentioned in the first half of the segment, today we're going to talk about winter fire safety. And Captain Dickens, we'll just go ahead and start out with it being around the holidays, some specific things that people need to remember when it comes to holiday decorations, a Christmas tree, things like that.
Okay, great. The holidays are here. And it's a time where we like to decorate our homes and our businesses, and adds to the enjoyment and excitement of the season. But unfortunately, those same decorations could add to your risk of fire. So we'll talk about a few of those things. Artificial trees versus live trees. If you have an artificial tree, it's best to have one that's flame retardant. If you choose a live tree, it's always best, it's absolutely imperative that it stay properly watered. When you bring it home from wherever you purchase it, it's good to the trunk. Make sure that you cut a couple of inches off the bottom of the trunk.
Okay.
Put it in a good stable stand and make sure that it stays watered at all times. If you were to go to the NFPA website or the FEMA website, they have a video there that shows two live Christmas trees. One has been watered properly and one has not.
Okay.
Each one of them is subjected to fire, and you should see the difference between the two. So it kind of illustrates the importance of keeping the tree properly watered.
Okay.
Regardless of the type of tree, it's also critical that it not be located in an area that would block your egress from the room or the house. A lot of times trees get pretty large, and whether it's in the living room or some other area of the house, if it's close to an exit, we need to make sure that the exit is not blocked.
Okay.
So that's very important. When it comes to lighting, it's never a good idea to use open flames on the tree for lighting purposes. We have seen that before. Your lighting, electrical lighting, make sure that it's in good shape. Make sure that the cords are in good condition. It's always best to use lights that have been certified by testing laboratories such as Underwriters Laboratory, the UL symbol that we're all used to seeing.
Right.
Always make sure that you're not overloading any electrical circuits. Most likely the cause of a Christmas tree fire is going to be from a malfunction within the lighting, could be, or perhaps the tree is too close to a heat source. I'd like to talk about that for a moment.
Okay.
Especially with a live tree, the closer the tree is to a heat source, the quicker that tree is going to dry out, and of course really illustrates the necessity to keep it watered. So a phrase that we like to offer is keep 3 feet from heat.
All right.
Okay, that's a good point to remember.
Fairly easy to remember.
So again, we'll make sure that we're not drying the tree out, and also not subjecting it to a heat source that could cause the tree to catch fire itself. Candles, again, keep 3 feet from heat. We all like to have candles in our homes and businesses. You just have to really be careful with those. Never leave them unattended. And again, make sure that any combustible material is at least 3 feet away.
All right. That's a wide gamut of what we need to think about when it comes to our trees and candles. What about other types of open flames, fireplaces and things like that, as far as not being too close to them, or maybe putting up fire screens? What are some tips with that?
Sure. Again, same phrase, keep 3 feet from heat. Keep those trees and other decorations away. It's a good time this time of year to talk about the fireplaces again as a heating source, and not just necessarily as it relates to the holidays. Kind of shifting gears a little bit, we want to make sure those heating sources that we use this time of year, whether it's your fireplace, oil or gas heat, space heaters, anything of that nature, make sure that it's in good working condition. Make sure that it's not too close to combustibles. Make sure that it's been inspected to make sure that it's in good working condition. We recommend that you never leave any type of open flame heating source unattended, whether it's a fireplace or your wood stove, things like that. Should always best be attended in case something does go wrong. You can take quick action. Okay,
and another thing around this time of year, it can get pretty cold in this area, which could cause ice storms, your power to go out, which people are using generators.
Right.
So what are some safety tips in terms of just using the generator or outside external power?
Okay. Generators, again, we just make sure that they're in proper working condition. One thing that's very critical is if we're using a generator, it should be outdoors. We never use a generator inside because of carbon monoxide issues, the inherent fire hazard itself, so it should always be located outside. Make sure that it's not located in an area where the exhaust, carbon monoxide, things like that could come back into the home, whether it be doors, windows, or other openings. In other words, get it as far away from the home as you can. And again, making sure that we're not overloading those devices.
Okay. And also in terms of just winterizing your home and making sure your equipment is safe, what are some things that people can do in terms of making sure their smoke detectors are in good shape, things of that nature.
Sure. Again, in anything that we're using for heating purposes, we want to make sure it's in good condition. Especially this time of year, we generally see a spike in calls for service regarding fires, whether it's heating equipment or those holiday decorations, things like that. We're all trying our best to do whatever we can to stay warm. Unfortunately, there's those inherent fire risks. Regardless of the time of year, smoke detectors, we just can't stress that enough. At least one on every floor of the home, especially outside of those sleeping areas. Make sure they're in good working condition. Make sure that the battery works. If the battery's not in it, it's not going to work. If the battery's dead, obviously it's not going to do you any good. Unfortunately, we do see instances where folks will remove that battery to use it for some other purpose, and it never goes back in. The best thing to do is just don't touch it. It's a vital piece of safety equipment. Just leave it alone. Make sure that it works properly. Carbon monoxide detectors. If you have any type of heating source in your home that burns fuel, whether it's a fireplace, gas logs, or you're burning natural gas, propane, anytime that you're burning a fuel source, one issue that you may have is the carbon monoxide, which is basically a byproduct of incomplete combustion. Okay? So it's best to have that carbon monoxide detector present to alert you if there's an issue. If your smoke detector goes off, carbon monoxide detector goes off, it's time to implement that emergency escape plan that we all have.
Yes,
okay,
we all do.
We all have one, and we practice it at least twice a year. And this is a good time to review it. Make sure everybody understands what the plan is, what to do in case of emergency. So if something does occur, we can all get out safely. Another point to make is if we do have a fire in our home, make sure everyone gets out. Call 911. Do not go back in the house.
All right, and what are some websites or some places for resources people can go for maybe the smoke detectors and just knowing what to do as far as creating an escape plan?
Sure. The National Fire Protection Association website has a lot of good information. The FEMA website also has good information. And of course, we have lots of information here at the Kings Fort Public Safety Center. We'd like for folks to come by and visit with us. Be glad to answer any questions. We like to go out and visit as well. If we get a call from someone and they have a question about their home and they want to talk smoke detectors and escape planning and things like that, we'd love to come out and visit with them.
Okay, and I'll just have you recap some of the holiday safety, but before that, we also get in the kitchen a lot. We do a lot of cooking, and, with the holidays. So what are just some general safety tips working with heat and, in the kitchen area? Sure,
and of course, cooking being the #1 cause of house fires in our country. And it's the holidays, and then perhaps a little bit more cooking than usual is going on. We just want to make sure that any cooking that's taking place, that we stay in the kitchen with it. We don't leave the stove, leave the oven unattended and go to another room. We always stay with it. Again, making sure those smoke detectors work, make sure that escape plan is in place. Fire extinguishers are always great to have around, making sure that they're the correct type, properly located, and that we know how to use them. Especially in the kitchen, we don't want to locate the extinguisher in an area where the fire is most likely to break out, which was going to be your stovetop. If you have the extinguisher beside the stove and the stove catches fire, you can't get to it.
Right.
Again, if you have a fire, the best thing to do is to get out, call 911, and let the fire department come and address it for you.
Okay. And before we leave, if you could just rehash some of those holiday-specific tips with the Christmas tree and 3 feet removed from heat.
Right, 3 feet from heat, that's
3
right.
feet from heat.
Yeah, again, just whether it's an artificial tree or a live tree, just make sure you're not blocking your means of egress. Make sure that you can get out of the room or the house. If it is a live tree, make sure that it stays watered at all times, and live trees will soak up a lot of moisture, so it may be necessary to water it multiple times a day, but the point is make sure it's in a stable stand and make sure that it's watered properly. Keep these items 3 feet from heat, which will do 2 things. One is prevent the tree from drying out, and the other is lessen the likelihood of it catching fire. All your holiday decorations, make sure all your electrical connections are good. We're not overloading extension cords or outlets, things like that. And again, just make sure that smoke detector is there, that it works, and that you've got that escape plan ready to go in case you need it.
Okay, well, Captain Dickens, thank you so much for joining us on Safety First and giving us some tips to make sure we'll have a fun, safe holiday season.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And before we leave Safety First, we'll leave you with just a quick announcement as far as this year's Christmas tree pickup and what to expect. Until next time, this has been Safety First. From December 26, 2012 to January 8, 2013, Public Works will collect all Christmas trees and boxes as a special collection. However, during these 2 weeks, Christmas trees and boxes would not be counted towards the 12 free special collections they received. Any Christmas trees after this date will be collected but will count as a special collection.